give us your thoughts on VB. Give us your thoughts on the program as a whole and what you're liking out of the men in Crimson and Cream.
Yeah, obviously going 6-7 is not up to Oklahoma standards, but man, I think it shows a lot about what BV and every coach on the staff is kind of building as a culture to bounce back and come back and have a season we did last year. Obviously we still had some close losses last year, and we could have very well been in the college football playoff or at least in the conference championship game again. But I think just to be able to go from 6-7 to what we put out last year is just speaks volumes. And you look at kind of that grit that OU's playing with again, that defense that was the defense that, me and you watched in high school, is watching, the Travis Lewis and the Gerald McCoy and all those guys. And so I think it's just very, very pleasing to understand that the culture is only going to keep going up. And the longer that BV and company are here, the better we're just going to get overall. And I'm excited for it.
Sooner Nation and Red Dirt family, Trevor Knight here. I want to share with you guys about an awesome event coming up on February 17th at the Noun Hotel right there in Norman, Oklahoma. Red Dirt Media is hosting an event that I'll be a part of. Nick Anderson will be there, Caden Helms will be there, and multiple other Oklahoma football players. You get to interact with the players, eat some great food, have some drinks, and enjoy the evening. February 17th, 6 p.m. start time. Tickets are going fast, so go get them today. We'll see you guys then. Boomer Sooner. Sooner faithful, what is going on? Trevor Knight here, former OU quarterback from 2012 to 2015. And today I am excited to announce the dropping, episode 1 of the Dial It Up pod. I'm your host. It's going to be a fantastic piece of content each and every week for you guys to listen to. It's going to be Sooner specific. We're going to have all sorts of guests on here, from former players, guys that I played with, guys that played before me, guys that are playing now even. And we're going to chop it up. We're going to talk about different schematics. We're going to share stories. We're just going to have a blast talking about all things OU football. We will dip our toe into national stuff. We're going to talk through all the big headlines, but we want you guys to be able to hear content not only from a former OU player, but from former OU players and all the things that you guys would love to see on Saturdays. I will have a co-host at some point, so stay tuned for who that is. It's going to be very exciting, and we'll keep this rolling all year long, but we're going to do this every single week so that you guys don't miss a single piece of what's going on in Sooner football and around the country, and hearing some awesome content. Obviously, when the season starts, we'll be talking a lot about the games, but for right now, we're going to have a lot of guests on, and we've got an exciting one today. So make sure, guys, as always, follow us and check us out on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you listen to your podcast. Follow us on social media. We're going to be pumping out all sorts of content, little clips for you guys to be in the know, and highlights from some of the stories and the plays that we talk about. It's going to be really good stuff. Always like, comment, subscribe. Really appreciate you guys. So, little background on me. I mentioned played at Oklahoma 2012 to 2015. Had a lot of incredible times there. Redshirted my first year and then had the opportunity to start after that. Blake Bell and I, the Bell Dozer, we kind of went back and forth. He started some games. I started some games. I'd get hurt. He gets hurt. And in the 2013 season, it was really quarterback by committee. I had the opportunity to come in and play towards the end of the year, and ended up going in and starting the game up in Stillwater, the Bedlam game. It was cold. It was about 6 degrees outside. We were hanging in there in the first half. They had a good team that year. And then I went out last play of the first half. I fell out of bounds, dislocated my shoulder. And so we put Kendall Thompson in, older brother of Casey Thompson and son of Charles Thompson. And Kendall did some really good things. And then we decided to finish the game with Blake Bell. And for all you Sooner faithful out there, Blake goes and we run a play called under Y corner cake. So you had 3 receivers. Under was the inside route. So about 5 yards and in, 5 yards and in, for the outside two guys. And then the inside receiver ran the corner. And then the backside, we had what we called a cake route, which is kind of like a corner route. Blake played the front side. He saw the corner squat and leverage running the corner route with Jalen Saunders. And he hit Jalen for what would have went on to be the game-winning touchdown pass, which propelled us to go and get the at-large bid to play a BCS game in the 2013-2014 All-State Sugar Bowl. I didn't know who was going to start. Blake had just won the game-winning, thrown the game-winning pass against Oklahoma State. We kind of started bowl practices, and it just was decided that I matched up better with what the Crimson Tide did, and so we rolled with it. And for you guys that watch that game and still talk about that game, I love reminiscing on that game because we went out there and we kicked their butt up and down the field in all three phases. Offense, we played great. I had a big night. Sterling Shepard had a big night. Brendan Clay was fantastic running the football. All of our guys up front, we had switched some guys on the offensive line to play different positions. Neela Kazatati was out there. Daryl Williams was out there. Gabe Eichert at center was out there. Bronson Irwin was out there. Deontay Savage was out there. Some really awesome offensive linemen for our program. And then you had, like I mentioned, Jalen Saunders, LaColton Bester, Sterling Shepard, Jazz Reynolds, those types of guys just making big-time plays on the outside from the offensive standpoint. And we got a pretty big win. But you also had the Eric Strikers of the world, the Charles Tappers, the Aaron Colvins, the Gabe Lins, the Geno Grishams, who had a big night on defense. I'm trying to name off some of the big names, right? The Zach Sanchez, he had a big interception that game as well, who played fantastic on the defensive side. And then we played really well in special teams also. So all three phases kicked their butt up and down the field. And, that propelled me into, kind of a different realm as a young guy, getting some notoriety, those types of things. We go out in the 2014 season and we start the year off pretty hot. We end up losing a couple games, and I understand it haunts me every night, that unacceptable in the Crimson and Cream. And then I had a neck injury, which was a scary deal for me. Cody Thomas, who's playing professional baseball nowadays, comes in and plays well. And then we get beat by Clemson in the Russell Athletic Bowl. Make a coaching change, hire Lincoln Riley. Bake takes over the reins, and obviously had an incredible career. And look what he's done this year in Tampa. So proud of him and what he's doing. He's got a little baby on the way, for those of you that haven't kept up with his story. And so excited for him personally, also professionally. This was a resurrection year for him. We all know that he's been the same Baker from the beginning, but to the outside world, he did incredible things in Tampa this year. But he took over in 2015 under Lincoln Riley and, played fantastic. It was a unique year for me because I got to sit there and lead from a different perspective. I'd always been on the field other than redshirting, of course, but I knew my time was coming. And, just some incredible memories from that year. I did still want to play, right? I had a competitive fire inside me, so I did transfer down my senior year. And I'll say this on the first episode. I promise I won't talk about it a lot, but I'm so thankful for all of you guys that, at the time and then even to this day, still treat me as a Sooner. I am a Sooner, graduated from the University of Oklahoma before I left, and gave my blood, sweat, and tears to the program. And so that's why I'm excited to do this pod for what Oklahoma means to me, and all those teammates and memories that I had and have made over the years. I want to be able to share those alongside all these Sooner greats. So that's a little bit about me. I am living in North Dallas. I've got a beautiful wife, Lacey, and we've got an almost 2-year-old little boy named Griffin. My hope is that he will be touting the Crimson and Cream at some point in his life on maybe the football field. We'll see. His father, his grandpa, my father-in-law, did play in the MLB for a while, and he's a lefty. So he may end up over there on the baseball field, but we'll see. We got a lot of time before that. But forever indebted to you, Sooner Nation, and so excited to be pumping out this content week in and week out. Please interact with us on social media, things that you want to hear, people that you want to talk to, people that you want to talk about, right? Different memories and stories. I look forward to interacting with you guys. But with that, really exciting guest this week. I'm going to bring him in right now, and we're going to have a lot of fun talking. So Sooner Nation, buckle it up. Remember to like, subscribe, and listen to our podcast wherever you listen to that at. Follow us on social media. We can't wait for this ride. So here we go, our first guest.
College football tees, college basketball tees, whatever you need, Mercury has you covered with the best merch out there. We're talking about high quality clothing, inexpensive, and the best part is I have a 15% discount for everybody who goes and gets some right now. Use the code below, hit the link in the description, and go get your merch now. Use the code to get 15% off. What are you waiting on? Go do it.
And ladies and gentlemen, here he is. It's only fitting, the first episode on the Dial It Up pod. We got to have a home run guest. Like I mentioned, we're going to have guests week in and week out. We're going to be talking all things OU football and national stuff, anything that's going on in the college football world and beyond. But without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Dimitri Flowers. But before I turn it over to Dimitri, a couple things on Dimitri here. First of all, first team All Big 12 selection. Had 36 rushes for 151 yards in his career and 4 touchdowns there. Also had 54 receptions for 886 yards and 13 touchdowns. The guy was a machine. He had a knack for the ball. He was a fantastic player. Straight out of San Antonio, Churchill. Yeah. San Antonio boys through and through. And I was obviously super pumped when, Dimitri, when you decided to come to OU, just because we had that San Antonio connection. And I'll say my first memory of you was not at OU. It was in high school. We were playing y'all not in football, but in baseball. And there's a line drive hit the center field in the gap, and you went full-on sprint, and you're pretty fast back in the day, laid out completely and made probably the best catch I've ever seen on a baseball field. So, Dimitri, how are you, man? What's been going on in your world?
Man, I'm good. I appreciate the intro, flattering me a little bit. I'm currently, just graduated law school. So working up in OKC at a law firm, kind of doing that thing.
I love it. Tell us about your family. I know your brother's down at SMU, dipping his toe into the college football world. What's the latest on him?
Yeah, family's great. My brother, he's at SMU D-line. His D-line coach is Coach Tibbs. So a little, Tibbs was at OU when I was there. So, got that connection. Little big freak.
I love it.
Brayton's good. He's had a couple injuries, unfortunately. He's trying to battle through those and get healthy again. But, that's just what college football is about.
No doubt. And I'm sure I'm jealous of you because I had a twin brother, obviously, that played with us up at OU named Connor. When we were both done, it was like everything's done. Now, even though you're on the backside of your playing days, you still get to have a little bite of it through your brother, which is pretty cool. So, well, hey, man, thanks for being on. This is going to be fun. I really want to just talk about all things, your career and take a little trip down memory lane. So with that, tell us why OU, man. Like, why did you decide to go to OU? Because I remember when I was going through recruiting, I wanted to stay in the state of Texas. And I was adamant about that. I wanted my parents to be able to go and drive the games. And Josh Heupel, head coach at Tennessee now, at the time he was our OC, and he was like, hey, man, Norman's not that far north of the border. Why don't you just come up and get a taste of what this place is all about? And when Connor and I, left that visit and started driving back down south to San Antonio, it was a no-brainer. They're just the history, the tradition, all the things that come with playing at OU is what sold us. So what was that for you, man?
Yeah, my story is a little bit different. Obviously, I was committed to Boise for, a solid 6 months into my senior year. I was graduating early and, I had my bags pretty much all packed up, ready to go to Idaho and go down to the Blue Field. And a guy by the name of Kel Gundy DMs me on Facebook back at the time, and we kind of sparked up a relationship. And next thing you know, I get an offer, and like I said, I was a couple weeks out the door to go to Boise, and took a couple calls with Coach Heupel and Bob, Coach Stoops at the time, and you can't really say no to a guy like that. I didn't have the luxury of going on a visit before, but just hearing his voice, understanding the legacy of Oklahoma, kind of what you touched on of Oklahoma is one of the blue bloods. You can't say no to Oklahoma, and that's kind of ultimately what it came down to for me. And looking back on it, I think it was the right choice for me.
100%. And I remember when you got on campus, I had been there a couple years. It was kind of one of those things like, all right, this guy's a freak athlete. He's got great size. Like, where do you put somebody like him? And I think great job from your standpoint of, really understanding and recruiting where you could fit. Because we had a guy named Trey Miller, obviously, right before you, Fat Daddy. And he did a lot of the things really well that you did, right? And so it was a perfect transition in. And obviously you got Aaron Ripkowski and some other guys that are a little more geared towards blocking, but that position was there. And then I think what was cool about your career is you just took that position and you ran with it. And you were a great pass catcher. You had incredible feel, and you could also block in the running schemes that we were doing, especially you kind of from that backfield position. So that was pretty cool. So I want to get into some of your great memories of being in the Crimson and Cream. I've got a couple. All right. I mean, I was racking my brain and I was like, man, Peaches, and for you guys listening, I call Dimitri Peaches. I always have. And so Peaches had some incredible plays, some plays that all OU fans will remember forever. But the first one, most people probably wouldn't remember this one. This is you and I were involved in this, and that's why I love it. So we were playing Iowa State in 2014, and we run basically the triple option. Yeah. And so I pull the ball on the zone read, and you're running around to get the pitch. Well, typically, like, read the D end, and then you pitch off the force player right away. Well, if you remember, it got, like, way down the field, and I'm about to get crushed, and I throw the ball over, like, 4 guys, and you catch it. I don't know, did you get destroyed on that play, or did you pick up a couple yards?
Actually, I was caught off guard, too. I didn't think you were going to pitch it that far down the field. But, it was actually a pretty good gain, and I'll never forget this because I came off the sideline, and everyone was mad at me because I should have scored.
Yeah, you should have.
I guess I took the wrong cut. I don't know. That's up for debate. But
that's hilarious. So that's one of my favorites. The other one, and every Sooner fan remembers this, 2015, also Iowa State, very first play of the game, we ran the little double reverse flea flicker. Baker hits you going down the right sideline, the home sideline, for 75 and a touchdown. Nobody's within like 30 yards yet. And I remember like watching it unfold. Well, first of all, I remember Lincoln calling the play in the huddle. And I want to say that it was like, hey, we're either going to take the shot if he's got this feeling, or we were going to run like zone the first play. I think it was something like seriously drastic. And so we get in the huddle, and you just see that look in his eye, and he's like, yeah, we're calling it. And then you see it unfold. You're running scot-free. Baker puts it right on you, and I'm sprinting down the sideline, just going absolutely nuts. And that was an awesome play. And then one of my favorites, just because I think it's like Dimitri Flowers wrapped in a bubble in terms of the type of player you were, was also 2015 when we were playing at Baylor. They were really good that year. Had some rain. Sterling Shepard had a huge night, but it was the extended play where like you kind of got lost in kind of the middle of the defense and just kept finding the hole. And then Baker hit you real late right there in the end zone. And the play was great. The feel was great. But this play and every other play that you had, your celebrations were always fantastic. I mean, you went nuts. So racking my brain, those are probably my 3 favorite Dimitri Flowers plays ever. But give me some of yours. Am I missing any, or what was your favorite memory or play from your career?
Well, first, going back to that 2015 Baylor one, I don't know if you remember this one, but I was supposed to block the entire time.
I remember.
I wasn't even supposed to run a route. And,
that's how you know how a guy has good feel, when his assignment is to block and the play's going on for so long. He doesn't block to the whistle. He finds a way to get open.
They only brought 3, so we had plenty of time. OB was at tackle, so he's handling his business. I decided I might as well just kind of shimmy out, find a little space, but it worked out, so we'll take it. But beyond that, man, a couple other memories from me would definitely be 2017 Ohio State. Just such a great atmosphere, huge environment. Game days there. I think it was 5 against 2. We're on the road. It's 3-3 at half. We crossed midfield in the first half quite a bit, but only came away with 3 points. Just very frustrating. Ohio State comes out first in the second half, and they go down, score, puts us down 10-3. And then our first possession, we kind of drive down the field, and we had a little play, just a little slip out the backfield, one of the patented Meach plays, and I one-on-one with the safety, made a miss, and 36 yards later, we score a touchdown, and I think that kind of sparked a whole different side of things for us on offense. And ultimately, we came away with the win there. So, that one is one that I'll never forget, just because of that atmosphere and that environment.
I was jealous. I was jealous of that, that you guys got to go play at the Shoe. I obviously missed that by a couple years, but obviously you guys went on to win, big part and because of your contributions to the game. And then that's the famous Baker planting the flag in the middle of the field game, which is iconic in Sooner sports history. You got another one that comes to mind?
Yeah, I would just say overall, man, 2016, we had Iowa State again. I guess I had some good games against Iowa State, but, a couple of our starting running backs were hurt, Joe and Samaje. Abdul was kind of
okay. They were okay players, right?
Yeah, they were all right. We're in the huddle kind of, right first play, and Link he kind of looks at me and is like, Meach, go to running back. And I was sitting there like, what? You want me to start there? And, the rest is history. Ended up rushing for over 100. I think I had a touchdown in the air. So, that was kind of another unique experience because we kind of touched on it earlier, but I feel like I did a lot of things well, but, nothing to perfection, if that makes sense. And so I feel like I played my role perfectly. And that was a good game.
And you were the definition of a Swiss Army knife. For a guy to be able to put his hand in the dirt one play and then step in the backfield and block at the end on the next, go out for a pass and put a little shake on a linebacker and then tote the rock in a zone replay. It's phenomenal. And that game specifically, I watched every play of that game because obviously if you're blocking H-back is playing running back, somebody's got to go to H-back. And so Connor, my brother, and Carson got to play a lot that game, and you guys tore it up. So that's fun. Yeah, a lot of fun memories. It's crazy, and I'm sure you have this feeling too. The sights and sounds of Saturdays and all these different venues. I never took it for granted, but it's certainly something that I miss more and more every day. Right. Yeah. It's one of those things. It's like just the smell of walking into the Horseshoe or, even to, out in Lubbock, Texas Tech or any of the venues. Right. They all have their uniqueness in it. And there was something special about it. So let me ask you that. I've got some stadiums that I think are just maybe head and shoulders above others. I'll say Tennessee was one that I thought was incredible. Just loud atmosphere, wild. Awesome when we did the home and home up there, and you were a part of that one. What was your one or two favorite venues that you were ever a part of and got to play in?
Yeah, definitely Columbus, man. Going up there was, oh my goodness. And just with game day there, you kind of touched on it about just the sights and the sounds. And, when game day is at one of your games, there's just cameras rolling everywhere 24/7. So, just that bus ride in, just seeing the fans give you the finger, walking out the bus, hearing the boos, man. Kind of like you said, you never take it for granted, but damn, do you miss it? You just miss walking in that competitive environment. And then, definitely the other one for sure, just for the nostalgia of it all, is the Rose Bowl, man. That game was, unfortunately, we came on the losing side of that one, but damn, man, that was one of the best college football games of all time. And just 100%. Being at that venue and it being a college football playoff game. Unfortunate it was my last game ever, but man, that one sure was great.
I was at that one, and heartbreaking loss, but it says a lot because Tennessee, great atmosphere, but it's also better because you win. Ohio State, great atmosphere, also better when you're walking out of there with a win. to say Rose Bowl, it says a lot about, obviously, granddaddy of them all when you're talking about venues and the bowl game. But, you come out of there with a loss and it's still imprinted in your mind that it's great. I was at the game. I was in the stands. I definitely had a couple beers, which made it fun until we lost. But I'll tell you, my favorite part of that stadium was after the game. Of course, we're all upset, but we hadn't eaten in multiple hours. And for those of you that have been to the Rose Bowl, like it's not an easy in and out. The Uber line was forever long and all that stuff. And obviously as a fan. And so at each gate leaving the stadium, they had the little pop-up hot dog stands. And I'm like, dude, I'm hungry. I'm going to grab a hot dog. So with the gate we walk out of, I grab one. I take a bite of this thing, and I'm like, oh, my gosh, that's the best hot dog I've ever had in my life. So I'm with Christian Daimler, another one of our teammates that we played with, and a couple others. And we go around to the next gate, got to get another hot dog. We go around to the third gate, got to get another hot dog. So I had 3 hot dogs leaving that stadium, and it helped soften the blow of the loss a little bit for me. But, the Rose Bowl was definitely one for the ages, and it was incredible. Well, hey, let me ask you this. Kind of switching over to the football side of things and what's going on today. Obviously, a couple years ago with the departure of Lincoln Riley, an incredible story. And it gets cooler and cooler every year with Coach Stoops being able to step in and coach again and coach his son in the Alamo Bowl, watch his son, score a touchdown while he's there on the sidelines. And then we go out and we bring in Brent Venables, a guy that has a ton of history at the University of Oklahoma in the defensive coordinator position and role. And now he's leading the pack. A couple years in now, I couldn't be more pleased with the culture aspect, what he's doing to develop these players, and just the direction that our program is going. So give us your thoughts on VB. Give us your thoughts on the program as a whole and what you're liking out of the men in Crimson and Cream.
Yeah, obviously going 6-7 is not up to Oklahoma standards, but man, I think it shows a lot about what BV and every coach on the staff is kind of building as a culture to bounce back and come back and have the season we did last year. Obviously we still had some close losses last year, and we could have very well been in the college football playoff or at least in the conference championship game again. But I think just to be able to go from 6-7 to what we put out last year is just. It just speaks volumes. And you look at kind of that grit that OU's playing with again, that defense that was the defense that, me and you watched in high school is watching, the Travis Lewis and the Gerald McCoy and all those guys. And so I think it's just very, very pleasing to understand that the culture is only going to keep going up. And the longer that BV and company are here, the better we're just going to get overall. And I'm excited for it.
Same. And I think VB is one of those guys that, or BV, I'm sorry. He is one of those guys that you can build a team around him. And it really doesn't matter the players that you have. It doesn't matter the coaching staff that you have. You step into that culture and it's just, you rise to the occasion or you get out. And I think, a guy like Nick Saban, who will not be around for the first time this upcoming year, that's what he was. You had many offensive coordinators. You had many defensive coordinators, obviously new players every single year, and he just kind of maintained that standard. And that's what I see out of Brent Venables. So with that, we got a couple changes on the offensive staff, right? The biggest being our offensive coordinator position. What are your thoughts? Obviously, great deal for Levy going over to Mississippi State. I think he's going to do great there. Love Zach Selman, the athletic director who came from Oklahoma to go over there. I know you know Zach really well. But, we got Seth Luttrell, who will presumably be calling the plays, and the co-offensive coordinator, Joe John Finley, who you have experience with, I have experience with, incredible mind of football. Do you like the move, and what do you expect out of those guys, specifically in terms of are they going to keep rolling with the same type of offense that we have, or is it going to change a little bit?
Yeah, I love the move. First and foremost, Seth is a former fullback and Joe John tight end. Obviously, that's up my wheelhouse. So anytime you give a fullback and tight end kind of guy the opportunity to call plays, I know they're going to do a damn good job of it. But it was very encouraging to see some some flow in the bowl game. Obviously, result wasn't what we wanted, but man, we were taking some shots. We were getting some tempo. We were kind of putting the defense in some unfortunate mismatches and difficult positions to defend. And so I think, based off the experience that they have, think about the coaches that Joe, John, and Seth have been around and kind of what they're building their repertoire around is just, it's just a massive vault of experience. And I think it's going to be so critical for both of them to be together, especially with their experience as OU players in the past. And it just allows for that bond to be even closer. And I think it's going to be great. I think it's going to be very exciting.
I agree. Those two guys are the best that I've ever been around, and the program's in a really good place. I'm just excited for them to be able to put pen to paper, develop these guys over this year, and then go make it happen on Saturdays. But I mean, coaching in general has gotten different, right? Obviously, you got new guys rotating in, guys moving to different positions, guys getting promoted. But the college football game has changed quite a bit, obviously with transfer portal and NIL as well. And these coaches are having to manage that along with the players. Do you give us your high-level thoughts on NIL and transfer portal? We'll probably have you back on at some point to kind of dive into the nitty-gritty, but do you think it's good? Do you think it's bad? Do you think there's good parts of it? I mean, what's your overall thoughts, especially coming from a legal mindset, Mr. Lawyer?
Yeah, I see a little good and a little bad, a good in the sense of, as former athletes, you and myself know that we definitely could have made a good chunk of change in the NIL days. Unfortunately, we didn't. But it's bad in also the standpoint of you hear all these things about tampering and coaches or not coaches, but, athletes kind of testing the waters of, hey, will you give me this? And, team A says, yeah, we'll give you that. And then they go and run and tell team B, hey, they said they'll give me this. Can you go higher? And it kind of turns into a bidding war. And that's not exactly what college football is meant to be, in my opinion. I think we need to kind of get a hold on it sooner rather than later, or it's going to get really out of control.
No doubt. Now, if you were to get one NIL deal at a local Norman restaurant, what restaurant would it be and why?
That's tough now.
What was your go-to, Peaches? What was your go-to?
I don't know if it's local now, but give me a little baked bear. Peaches love the baked bear.
Come on. Peaches love some sweets, baby.
I always walked in the meetings with some sweets, man. Everybody knew that.
I love it. Well, hey, Peaches, I appreciate you joining, man. This has been fun. We'll definitely have you back on, especially as the season gets closer. But an all-time Sooner great, number 36, Dimitri Flowers, straight out of San Antonio, Texas. Appreciate you being on, buddy. We'll catch up soon, okay?
Absolutely, man. See you soon.
All right.